Hey guys, what's up? It's Parnellyx, and in this video, I just kind of want to do a little bit of a rant about the state of League and the community. Well, not necessarily the community, just more of the state of SoloQ and the experience of playing SoloQ and how it's kind of diminished over the years. I've been playing League since Season 1. I've experienced basically every single era of League of Legends, minus like the beta era. So I've seen how it's evolved over the years, how the community perception of the game has changed. And it is certainly much, much different than it was before. At this point, I wouldn't even really say I think. I would say it's absolutely in a worse state than it was even just a few years ago. And it feels like Riot isn't doing anything to kind of curb this issue around the toxicity of SoloQ and the frustration of the experience with playing it. It just seems like Riot's not really doing anything, and it seems like they don't care. I'm not sure if it's just because they've kind of push themselves more towards a more data analytical focused approach to changing the game, which, by the way, obviously the fact that they're not going to have all the data they need, but also data doesn't explain the entire picture of how players feel and why they're still playing the game. Like, people who were playing the game 3 years ago, almost all of them are still playing the game. From Season 8 to Season 11, most people are still playing the game, but most people are having a far worse time, are far more negative about the game nowadays than they were earlier on in Season 8. There was definitely more hype, going into like Season 8 preseason. And then like now it's just like people are playing the game, but it almost feels like no one really likes the game. And of course, there are plenty of people who do like the game right now. I'm not going to make that claim that everyone hates it, but the SoloQ experience is definitely worse in many, many ways. And yeah, it just feels like that Riot is either too like data centric around the game or something, or that they are just kind of giving up on the game to put more resources into other games. I know that some Rioters did swap from League to like other games that Riot is working on, but I don't really know what it is. It just feels like they're not actually investing into League anymore. It feels like they're just kind of letting it get by. There's no marketing in the League scene in NA, like at all. I think some people said there are they've seen some ads pop up for League. I have actually never seen that. Compared to like 5 years ago, I actually saw it like 5 years ago sometimes. I have not seen it in the past 5 years. I've never seen advertisements for League of Legends. I don't know anyone my age who has talked who plays League of Legends, honestly, in general. Well, I know people that play League of Legends, but I don't know anyone that's started playing League of Legends in the past few years. There's like no new players, and I don't know the stats behind it, but it just feels like there's no new players. No one is aware of the game's existence. I say I play League of Legends to people, and they have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. I mean, if you say you play Fortnite, everyone knows what you're talking about. And sure, Fortnite is spending way too much or a ton of money on the game, and they're obviously very popular in NA. But like at least like a game like Rocket League, for example, has more. I feel like people are kind of aware of that game more than they are of League. And stuff like, Call of Duty, Smash Brothers, all these things have more of a marketing presence in NA or at least in America, over League of Legends. So there is that. The game just feels like it's in a pretty poor state, SoloQ wise. And like I said, I don't want to really talk about the balance of the game because that's a completely different topic. We can talk about balance. I think it does have, there's definitely some points that I'll mention that kind of overlap, but for the most part, I don't really care about the balance of the game because it always changes, and I don't think it's that bad. Well, I think it's kind of bad, but I don't think it's that bad. Like if you play other games, league balance isn't that bad. It's fine. We can get by. It's not the end of the world, but it's just the SoloQ experience that is really frustrating me. And so what I'm talking about, the SoloQ experience. Especially in higher, I don't know how it is around silver gold. I imagine it's still somewhat the same. Probably not in every aspect, but definitely in some. But I honestly can't go 3 or 4 games without seeing a troll on someone's team. And that's being generous, saying 3 or 4 games, because sometimes you can get it back to back to back. You can get it, 3 games and 5 games or something like that. The game is just way too exhausting. And it feels like you're going to get trolled in half your games. And when I say troll, I should actually clarify this, because some people, a lot of people definitely are melodramatic about this, or they have like the victim mentality that they're being trolled every game because their top lane went 0-7 or something like that. That's not trolling if you just suck. If you suck at the game or you're playing bad. I've gone 0-15 and I wasn't trolling. People might think I'm trolling, but I'm not. I know I wasn't trolling. I wasn't intending to do that. I was probably just tilted or playing bad. And I've seen this in my games, and I might still flame them or whatever, but I'm not going to feel like this, like, it's not going to be that bad. But there are plenty of situations where people are, but the type of trolling that I am talking about is like legit trolling, and to the extent where it is, I guess there's many different ways in which you could like legit troll or grief your team. You know, either just banning out your teammates in champion select, saying, just, playing, discount Nunu in champion select, taking ghost cleanse. Those are the obvious ones. There's also first timing a champion out of spite. First timing a champion in general, not really a problem. You have to start somewhere. Maybe you've been practicing a champion. Maybe you just want to learn the champion and you just want to start now, which is kind of BM, but it's not like you're trolling. At least you're trying to win. And maybe you're just picking a secondary champion because your one trick got banned and you believe that you can win or whatever. But I'm talking like a Nunu one trick is on your team, has 99% of his games are Nunu. And he sees like, oh, we have this top laner in our team. Well, I guess it's time to practice my Lee Sin, wink, wink. Something like that. You know what I'm saying, right? You get stuff like that where it's clearly people are very malicious with how they're approaching the game and how they don't want to win. And they know they can get away with it because soft hinting is so hard to detect. And there's a reason why it's hard to detect. That's why it's called soft hinting, is because you are half pretending to care about the game. Like, it should be really hard to, or it should take a lot of effort to soft int and get away with it successfully, basically. You can't get rid of it completely, but you can certainly try to crack down on it a little bit. But it's honestly quite easy to do a little soft inting. You can just do something as simple as, like, I think one of the issues is people will type it in chat, because people who are egoing, most of the time when people ego, they're not going to just troll. They want to troll it, and they want to let you know that they are trolling to fulfill the ego. So you could certainly get away with reading chat to actually like see this. And also, if you start cracking down on this and people realize this, well, people aren't going to want to troll as much if they feel like that they're not going to get that satisfaction out of, saying, hey, I lost you the game because I'm a fucking, I control the game, or it's some like kind of power trip of some sort. Yeah, it's there's stuff like that. There's also just like giving up very early on into the game. It's not all pre-champion select. It's there's plenty of instances of people just saying they don't care about the game because I like picked a champion. I'll play Warwick mid. As you guys know, I've had Challenger playing Warwick mid like a couple times, and people will troll me because I pick Warwick mid in Diamond 1. Even if I don't play Warwick mid, if I'm just a Warwick main who's auto filled, play the game. If you're not gonna dodge, just play the game, and just it's just as simple as that. You should just play. There shouldn't be like any griefing, because there's been so many games this season, so many games where I've like either played a secondary champion, I've played like Warwick off roll, or I just came off of a bad game with Warwick where I had someone in my team. They knew I fed last game, so instead of trying this game to make up for that game, say, hey, you played it bad, happens. Instead, they'll go in with the mindset of, okay, well, I'm gonna make this guy lose so that he knows how I feel, or something like that. It's like that shit should be punished easily. That shit should easily be punished, but never is, and it's allowed so easily. So yeah, and then there's plenty of instances of just trolling, people rage splitting, people just not grouping up for objectives or something. If like intentionally, it's kind of hard to explain that one, because you can. Obviously, that one you can get away with a lot of the times, but there's definitely some instances where, I've had people be like, we've been like group for Baron. They'll be like, nope, I'm not going to group for Baron because, you fed my laner that one time or something like, it's like, it's just the petty shit. Way too much like petty, passive aggressive trolling and griefing is just allowed. And it's so frustrating, man. So I kind of just want to talk about the solutions to this, because like I said, this literally happens all the time. It happens all the time. And that people think that just because you think that you're going to get trolled, that it's going to happen, or it's all about perspective. Like, oh, your top laner went 0-10. Of course you think he's trolling. Well, he's not trolling. He was trying his best. So you're actually just toxic. That's no. There is legit troll. I'm not talking legit trolling. Feeders happen plenty too. The feeders have always happened. I've been playing this, like I said, I've been playing this game for 10 years. I've remained mostly positive over the past 10 years of playing, and I've remained optimistic about like the state of SoloQ. Even the last like 2, like people were complaining about the state of SoloQ in season 8, season 9, stuff like that. I mean, well, I did maybe agree sometimes. Other times I thought people were crazy and they're just over exaggerating. People just didn't like the meta or something, and suddenly they're just like making something a big deal. I'm a optimist. I'm not a pessimist when it comes to League. I really believe in the game, and I definitely like think that a lot of people having a negative mindset about the game or just in general is what causes them to see all the toxicity. But this is not the case this season. It wasn't even really the case last season, but especially this season. I know I mentioned something on Reddit. I commented to the Tank Man. The Tank Man's he's a challenger support player on NA. He's like top 10 or something like that. Most people honestly don't like playing with him because he has a very odd play style. But he climbs, right? He climbs, gets the results done. But he made a comment on Reddit that like trolled it. I said something to him or something. Oh no. He said something to the Reddit post where he said like, oh well, trolling, like legit trolling, only happens in one in 100 games. Anyone who's claiming it's more than that is full of shit, basically. And I was just thinking that's literally not true. That it's not even like it was an exaggeration. Maybe he meant like 1 in 40 or 1 in 30, something like that. That's still not true. It happens all the time. Like legitimately happens all the time. And I don't think it's just because people don't like me either. I think because I've played on multiple accounts, I've played under barcode accounts. Definitely gets better when I play under a hidden name, for sure. So I get targeted sometimes and stuff. But it does happen in general, like a lot, way too often. And nothing is being done about it. And the people who are like gaslighting themselves or other people into saying it isn't happening are full of shit. They're either intentionally lying or they're just like huffing a lot of copium, because it's not true at all. This is literally happening in like 1 in 4 games. I mean, maybe I could get a better ratio. I could probably start counting the games that it happens. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. I'm actually not sure. It feels like 1 in 3 or 1 in 4. Maybe it's like 1 in 6. But you got to keep in mind, I'm also counting people who are giving up midway through the game. Yeah, sure. Pre-game champion select, I'll probably get a troll once a day, maybe 2 times a day with that type of stuff. But when in regards to like saying open at like 3 minutes, that is not a positive experience in the game. That is that's griefing. If you are like selling your items, or you just start like running it down or something like that, that's not like, or you start following your jungler, like this stuff happens so much, and like it's not normal. It shouldn't be normal. This was never normal before. It happens, sure, but the thing is this trolling used to happen on such a small scale that it wouldn't feel like you were stuck. It wouldn't feel like you're just like held hostage, basically. You'd feel like, okay, this guy wasted my time, 30 minutes. I have to play 2 games to make it up. Kind of frustrating. I'm pissed off, but whatever. But no, it feels like you get it like 5 times a day, and you just can't make progress, even though you're the only one even though you're trying to win. So, yeah, that's just my complaints about the state of the game. But I want to go ahead and just kind of talk about some solutions, because I was thinking about some solutions the other day, and I'm actually curious what you guys think of these solutions. And I'm curious what solutions you guys have as well to like maintaining the health of the game. So the first idea I had was to actually, and this I think would be very important towards, helping the health of the game in a lot of ways, such as toxicity, but also smurfing. Now, I think smurfing is great in the game, to have in the game, but it's certainly excessive right now. Everyone complains about smurfing because it's too easy to smurf, to just buy a new account and just level up a new account. And most people have like 5 or 6 accounts. Well, maybe not. Okay, most people don't have 5 or 6, but there's a lot of people that definitely have 5 or 6 accounts, right? and that are just smurfing, and they're more likely to be toxic or ego or AFK and stuff on their smurf account as a result. And not to mention that the skill gap makes the game much more frustrating. So I think it is okay to have smurfs in the game, but they should be limited a little bit more. So my solution is to have it so that there's you have your league accounts, but all of your league accounts are under one ID, and that league ID is connected through your phone number and your email. There could also be other barriers to entry to make it a little bit tougher. Obviously, players are going to, buy accounts still. People are going to be able to use their family's phone numbers, stuff like that. But the entire goal here is to make it harder, more difficult for you to do that. You can have it so that you have an ID that's connected, and you can make accounts under that ID to reward good behavior. So honor level is going to be connected. Also, getting banned or any punishments is going to be connected as well. So you can have like rewards. For example, if you have a really good honor, you're going to be able to buy another Smurf account. Now you might be thinking like, why would Riot want to encourage people to, someone on who's playing like higher level, say like a diamond player, wants to make a Smurf account? Why would Riot allow you to buy a Smurf account? Well, and there's a couple reasons. First of all, they could limit how often you can actually get one. Second of all, it can be limited through honor, so that's people who are buying the Smurf accounts aren't going to be toxic. And third of all, they can also have it so that there is like because the accounts are linked, you can detect the person's real MMR. So what you can do is you're not going to just straight up buff them up to the MMR right away. You're going to let them Smurf. But if they're a player that is tryharding, and they're like going for like 90% win rate to whatever rank they're going for, then very quickly after a couple of games, like 5 or 6 games, they're winning all their games. You can see very quickly that they are smashing their games, so you can boost their MMR as a result. Now there are people that do Smurf legitimately, as in they test out other like new champions to play, new roles, stuff like that. The Tyler 1 special. Tyler 1, if he plays, he first time support and challenger, he's going to feed his ass off, right? He's like a gold player when he starts off these new challenges. So you got to keep that in mind. And that's kind of the thing about having these Smurfs connected to your main account, because Riot can see, oh, this guy, while he is Smurfing technically, he is performing, he's not like, Smurfing on these guys, right? He's definitely at the level that they should while he's learning this role or whatever. So it can be much easier for Riot to like monitor and balance the matchmaking in games, as well as monitoring bans, making sure that's if you get banned on one account, you get banned on another account, you get locked out of all of your accounts from playing, so that we have that system in place. So I think this would actually kind of accomplish what Riot's initial goal was with the role queues they had in previous seasons, where you had like different MMRs based on your role. Just have you have your Smurf accounts that are different roles, but like you're playing on your Smurf account isn't going to affect your main account's MMR, or LP gains like it did before. So that would be a good thing, and I think the system would actually properly implement what Riot was going for in that system. So another thing that it can actually help is this does help with security of your accounts, because the two-factor authentication with your cell phone and your email would certainly prevent will definitely help with from players getting hacked. I've gotten my account hacked already once this season. I know there have been other players that have as well. It's not super common, but it is a concern. It's pretty easy to just, if you know someone's password, it's pretty easy to just log into their account. So that's a problem. It could also solve account sharing to an extent. I'm not really sure. And one more thing that you could do with the linked accounts to make honor rewards more intriguing for players is to have the ability to, for honorable players who are high ranked in honor. Of course, the honor system could be revamped a little bit further, but we're not going to talk about that too much right now. Is to have it so that they have like different options through like the linked accounts and stuff. So, for example, purchase a Smurf. Only honorable players can purchase a Smurf. Another thing you can do is have the ability to like unlock a unlock a barcode your account option. This is going to be mostly an issue with like streamers and high elo players, but there's definitely plenty of people who you'll have grudges held against you in high elo, and barcoding your account makes it so much easier to just play the game. And like if I'm known as a work player, if I lock in like Lee Sin or something like that. Now to be fair, I'm terrible at Lee Sin right now, so I would troll the game. But imagine I was like playing it on a Smurf and I felt comfortable in my Lee Sin. People wouldn't let me play the Lee Sin. No shot. But if I hadn't had a barcode account, people wouldn't be able to tell. Of course, there's OPGG, but still. I think having a barcode option would help with preventing toxicity in high elo, because if you are really tryharding and you don't want to deal with any drama or people complaining at you or people holding grudges, you could just have your name barcoded and just play the game. Now, of course, this has to be, held for honorable players, because dishonorable players are going to use it to troll, with the barcode. But, and people, honorable players can still troll too, obviously, but they're not going to get away with it as easily. So I think this is definitely like, another good option. There could be more rewards as well, but I think linking the accounts opens up the ability for the honor system to be revamped a little bit better. But the most important topic that I want to talk about in this video isn't really a new idea. It's nothing special, but it is pretty hot right now. And I think it is really important for Riot to at least try something. But I'm going to give my own perspective as to how they should do it. So the idea is that Riot should be monitoring high elo games. They should have Rioters monitor high elo games to manually review people that get reported for trolling. Now, so you might be wondering, why only high elo games? That's pretty unfair. Well, it is kind of unfair. Ideally, you could have it so that it affects low elo games too, especially the super highly reported players. But starting with high elo is a good thing. And the reason why it is a good thing is because of this kind of trickle down effect. I know that triggers a lot of people, but it does have some meaning. It has some actual legit meaning with League of Legends and just the video game community in general, because in high elo, that is where the streamers are, that is where the pros are. The people that have influence over the community are going to be playing in high elo. So if you make the people in high elo happy, they have more serious games, more competitive games, there's less trolling, less griefing, and people are happier and they're not talking down on the game and being so condescending about League in general. That influence affects the community, massively. I mean, you guys, I don't have to really say anything about the influence that streamers have, but it's pretty big. I mean, just over the last couple of years, the community started getting more toxic, and a lot of that really was just streamer influence. And I'm not going to blame any streamer in particular, but there certainly was a streamer influence with the toxicity of the game and just trends and just how people act. So that is a huge thing, and I think it would actually make the game way more positive as a whole in every single elo. If we did more monitoring in high elo, especially would definitely affect high elo, but it would affect low elo too, and mid elo and whatever. So I think this is really important to start off with in high levels of play, like Challenger, GM, Master, probably Master Plus, maybe Diamond 1 Plus, something like that. Now, my idea is to have it so that Rioters are going to be monitoring these games. Riot should be hiring some people to do monitoring this full time. Now, of course, you might say, well, they're not getting money from it. Doesn't matter. The quality of the product will show some returns. Right now, Riot, like I mentioned before, Riot doesn't feel too pressured to make changes to the game, because the frustrated player base is still playing. But at some point, the frustrated player base is going to just stop, and there's going to be an exodus in League. Now, that's a pessimist view, but I definitely think, to an extent at least, that'll be the case. So I think improving the quality of play not only will make the players happy, but it'll actually bring in more players over time, maintain the player base, and keep this game afloat. But I believe that the reason why Rioters should be doing this is because of the fact that they can be more formulaic about who they choose to ban or not punish. And there's going to be an unbiased factor to it. So, for example, a lot of people suggest that we should have kind of a tribunal system in high elo, where high elo players can, can just enter a mode and do this, which honestly would be better than nothing. But I think there's still going to be so much bias involved that it will really, cause some very interesting situations. I mean, like a lot of like high elo players in EU, they watch the boss play, and the boss looks like he's inting every game. So now obviously they probably know it's him, which is actually, that's another problem. Even though that you are able to, make names anonymous, in high elo, like you can tell who the one tricks are, and biases can affect that. So I think with that, it does cause some potential for trouble, but it's still worth trying over anything. I just personally believe that Riot reviews would be better because of the unbiasedness of it. They can literally have like a system, be like, okay, this is what constitutes as trolling. This is what not constitutes as trolling. They of course can improve that over time, but they would have a system in place, as opposed to the inconsistencies of high-low opinion, which can change, depending on who's reviewing and just the meta and stuff like that. So I think it would be better this way, but they got to try something, honestly. Now, I'll also want to jump in on the punishment system, because the punishment system right now is very flawed. Right now, if you get banned in League, you get chat restricted if you're chatting a lot, and you're really toxic in chat. You get a 14-day ban or a 2-week ban if you're toxic or just constitute as trolling. That is the first level of severity. Or you can get permabans. But I think it is a flawed system. The reason why I think it's flawed is because I think that there should be many more tiers, so that the false positives aren't going to be as punishing, and then this allows Riot to actually, be a little bit more liberal with who they're trying to punish. Now, of course, no one wants to get banned unfairly, but I think there is like a position where players should be banned even if they're trying at a certain points. Like if you're on like a 10-game losing streak, you're going 0-10 every game. Even if you are tilted, you at least need a break. So I think that there should be punishments bans, and there should be just like lockout bans. Now, Riot did actually, institute this with the AFK system. There's Q lockouts. Similar scenario here with punishments. So these harder to judge cases where you're not sure if someone's trolling, maybe what they're doing is bannable, but you can't really say for certain. Instead of just like letting them play and like, tossing it up in the air, you could just give them very short lockout periods to say, hey, we flagged you as trolling. It's not going to affect your honor level or anything. It's just going to lock you out. At the very least, you take a break. So it's like, I think it's a win for everyone, because the players that are tilted and they're like playing like trash, even if they aren't trolling, they're rage queuing, right? So they're not intentionally trying to lose all their LP. They don't want to lose all their LP, and it can be fine to set a break for them. Now, of course, if players are just getting locked out all the time, you can move it up to an actual punishment ban. So the obvious bans, the obvious trolls, the griefers, the ones that are very blatantly obvious and you can just tell with 99% certainty, you can push those to 14-week bans into a permanent ban or whatever. But you can have like a 4-hour lockout. You can have an 8-hour lockout maybe, or even you can even just have a 1-day lockout, stuff like that. So move it up from like 4 hours to 8 hours to 1 day to 7 days, and just have like a tier system that is a little bit more linear and not as extreme on the first ban from the get-go. That way you can really dig out all of the edge case soft enters, as well as, give the tilters a little bit of a break so they're not ruining everyone's game, because they're ruining everyone's game that they're playing with, and they're ruining their own game because the people that are actually trying will probably regret playing that many games while tilted. And of course, you want the freedom of it involved, but if you're at a certain point, your tilting is causing problems for everyone, and you probably shouldn't be playing the game. So I think that is a system that Riot should introduce with all of this. I mean, honestly, they just need to introduce it in general, because I think this would just improve the quality of, banning players in general.